Hey, what's good, world? Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Man, we just went through our first weekend of, basically the halt, and especially in the sports world. But we did have the Friday night ShoBox fight, or the ShoBox card headlined by Brandon Lee, a super lightweight prospect. He took out a Camilo Prieto. It was kind of underwhelming, honestly. Prieto looked bad physically. I thought he looked really soft and just didn't bring a lot of skills to the table. And then Brian Norman Jr. and Flavio Rodriguez. That was like what, a 6 round technical knockout, or not technical decision. I'm sorry, after the headbutt. Uh, Norman Jr. He needs some work. Like, he had good power and whatnot, but he needs some help technically, in my opinion. Even his dad really didn't explain things to him. He just, the boxing lingo talk. He told him what to do, but you could see his son was struggling with how to get off, and how to attack Rodriguez. He was watching, and it needs to be some better how to set things up, and how to work to get those shots and deliver the big left hand that he has. And the rest of the shots, Avna Aram Avignam against Dagoberto Aguero was a pretty good fight. Avignam was down once in each of the first 2 rounds, came back and won by decision. The scorecards got a little funny. It was a round that seemed to be scored incorrectly. And then the pork chop Guerrero fight against Angulo was pretty decent. They did that in front of a empty, it was no fans. Um, it's kind of just the commentators and like essential people, I guess. So moving forward, all of the so the boxing calendar has significantly changed since last week. One of the fights that I was hoping to go to was the April 17th Regis Program Maurice Hooker at National MGM National Harbor. That's now been postponed. That was a huge card with the women's fight, Cecilia Brycus and Jessica McCaskill. McCaskill is a unified super lightweight champion. Brycus was undisputed welterweight. It's kind of weird that she wasn't fighting another welterweight again. But that fight was on there. Philippe Hergovic had a fight on there, I think, against Jerry Forrester. Uh, Raymond Ford was on there. It was some, and I'm still missing another fight, another good fight that was scheduled to be on there, but that's been postponed. The World Boxing Super Series between Dorticos and Brightus postponed. Um, everything that had a date pretty much has been postponed because it looks like health officials are calling for an 8 week 8 weeks out. There should be no large public gatherings. So seems like everything is kind of on the move or canceled altogether. So then, lastly, so that's the boxing calendar. Some of these, the monster Inoue and Casemiro. It looks like they're trying to figure out a way to hold that in the studio and keep that fight on the schedule. But no, nothing definitive on that decision just yet. But then getting around to the Tyson Fury news, the story started coming out. I want to say Friday that a farmer Lancashire, England, is alleging that he went along with the story he went along with the story that he provided the Furies with wild boar meat, and that's how they tested positive for nandrolone back in 2015, I believe. The one thing that I don't understand for some that are running with this story is like it doesn't really impact it doesn't really impact the decision, or the outcome of the fight a couple of weeks ago with Deontay Wilder, or a few weeks now. Now, if you want to say it establishes character and history, you know, with the cheating accusations that are out there, so be it. But um, those guys did go through VADA. It was reported that they went through the VADA and WBC testing and all of that and came out clean. So there's like no, I don't think there's anything that's hanging over this fight. There's no shoe waiting to drop in terms of this fight being reversed or changed unless there is like a formal investigation into these different claims about, gloves and Fury's gloves and whatnot. So regardless if you want to cheer and cheerlead and whatnot, it doesn't look like that decision is going to change. Uh, did something happen back here in 2015? Mauricio Suleiman has come out in support of Fury. Frank Warren, of course, Fury's co-promoter, he said that this is nonsense. One thing that jumped out to me though was that they said that the one of them, I think it was Mauricio, but I think both of them actually, Warren and Suleiman, both said that how can you trust this admitted liar? So it's like you're saying that he lied, or you agree that he lied when he tried to cover for the Furies. So he probably submitted some a false statement. The Furies lawyer submitted statements where he said that he supplied them with this uncastrated wild boar meat, which had to be a reach even when they ran with this thing. But I guess the situation is that UKAD, United Kingdom Anti-Doping, could come back with the 8-year ban or something if they find out that if they do an investigation and find out that Fury did try to pay this man off and submitted false information and whatnot. So, and then lastly, the funny thing, or not the funny thing, but an odd detail here is that it was supposedly a $600,000 or pounds, $600,000 investigation into Fury to see whether or not he was guilty back then. And in the article that I read in the Sun, a UK online, I think they have a physical paper too. But it said this investigation nearly bankrupted UKAD. And so at some point in time, they had to let it go. And they made this settlement and agreed, and then they backdated the suspension and all of that. And then they moved forward with and then Fury was able to come back to the sport in 2018. Now, an interesting thing here is that for some of the flagrant, pro Wilder people. The funny thing is now this is such an issue for you, but you had no concerns back when how Fury came into the mix because he was helping Deontay Wilder because Wilder needed a big time or a big name opponent, and Fury, there was no bigger option out there than Fury. So it's funny now that you haven't gotten the results that you wanted. Now we got to run with all of these different stories and play all of this stuff up that is bigger than what it is, or so on and so forth. But so when it was to your benefit, it was worth overlooking all of this stuff. But now that the guy has actually tripped you up, or tripped up Wilder, now we got to go back and like retroactively do everything. or have all of these issues. So we'll see what happens with the investigation. If this $600,000 situation almost bankrupted UKAD, what kind of investigation do we really get to? Do we really see here? The WBC is already like, hey, that 2018, I mean that 2015 stuff did not involve. This was after the Vladimir Klitschko fight, and they're like, that did not involve the WBC title, so we don't care. So it's not like they're gonna be involved with that investigation. And then UCAD, we already have our issues with, you know, how above board on everything is on the up and up over there. So anyway, man, we'll see what happens with that investigation. I would imagine that somehow this thing kind of goes away, um, and we move forward. Depending on how loud this farmer, what's his name, Martin Carefoot, depending on how loud he wants to be. But anyway, man, let me get on out of here. There's not a lot of excuse me sports to really talk about. NFL free agency has some things going on. That's kind of like new news, daily new news and whatnot. I think that CBA agreement went through, but other than that, man, it's we just all kind of in wait and see right now. So again, continue to try to be safe. Look out for one another, and you know, use common sense. And this is Pay Me No Mind. Sports and entertainment. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.